Jason Lam is a rock star. He and the team at CentreCourt Development sold $2.4 billion of condos during the pandemic. They had the wisdom and the courage to launch projects when everyone else was sitting on the sidelines. Their successful launch of 199 Church in July of 2020 kicked off the most successful period in Toronto pre-construction to date. CentreCourt is the poster child for a new generation of development firms, and Jason is at the forefront of it all as their Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure to finally meet you to do this series. We've been planning this for a while, and I don't think we could have thought about a better setting than this, because I know you're a huge music fan, so am I.
It's better than The Office.
It's better than The Office. It's better than wearing a suit.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes. I'm kind of halfway there. But
halfway there, but it's still bad. Yeah. But you know what? The thing is, thank you very much. And I know you're a very busy guy, and thanks for taking time to do this. Now, let's start off with where you started from, and you've been in the industry just as long as I have.
Yeah.
Almost there, but
2010.
And you've been around the same time frame. But I've known you for a long time from your days at Melbourne, and then you worked your way, up, and then here you are, Senior Vice President of CentreCourt.
Oh.
And then it's fantastic. Now, tell me about yourself, how you got started. And how did you end up being where you are right now?
A couple of layers. So very fortunate to sort of landed where I landed. I started around 2010, 2011. I was in a skilled trade. Fun fact, like before I even got into real estate, never ever thought real estate was even a possibility.
Right.
So I have my gas license, so I was doing like heating and cooling, installing like sheet metal, custom homes. So I was early 20s doing that and thinking that, I struck it big. And then everyone around me is like, you got to get out. You got to get out. You're too young. You're too positive. Like you shouldn't be in this trade. So I left. I had no money. My friend Brian from RDS, he was a sales manager at Melbourne. He hired me, brought me in just to be like a runner, an administrator, and I was a horrible administrator. And so I was like a receptionist. Like, well, what can you do? I'm like, well, I can sit in that chair and I can welcome people. They're like, great, you're hired. And so that's how I got into it. I had no idea what pre-construction was and what was happening with real estate. I had no formal training, no background. And then my first real permanent reception job was at CentreCourt's first project, 101 Peter.
Oh, wow. Peter.
And then 10 years later, roughly, we reconnected. So, I grew, you're right, I was at Melbourne and I learned a lot, got a lot of great opportunities and worked my way up and got to collaborate with a lot of great minds and, never went to university, so that's sort of an interesting story. And here we are in 2018, I got a call to meet up with some of the senior leadership at CentreCourt, and we haven't looked back. We've had a tremendous run for the last call it 4 years.
Now, speaking of CentreCourt, you guys are one of the most dominant players in new construction, and the pandemic has pretty much cemented your position as the market leaders. Yeah. So what's behind that success? Like, what have you done so differently?
Well, I think. It's funny because a lot of people say, you guys are really smart and you time the market, and I think it's part of it is collaborative effort internally. But I mean, when you've got great sites, it makes it a lot easier to sell real estate, right? Sure. So
location is.
I always credit acquisitions. So for us, we were a team that we were willing to put a face at the front of the organization, not a logo, right? And we're willing to sort of bang on the drums and get out there, so to speak, and really start telling a story about our projects. I think a lot of the problem is that we've been so dependent on a great market, and it's like, hey, Saurabh, in your email is a link to the broker package. The worksheets are due at the end of the week, and you've got no context. You've got no anything, and so you're not really incentivized or even committed to try and work on these things. And other people either are just too cute, they're too secretive, they try and do what they do, and like I think you were going to get to the same point anyways. The market was going to thrive and you were going to sell.
Right.
In a market where we're in today, where it's a little bit more challenging, it's when relationships and being creative and being willing to have conversations, dialogue, spend time to educate, to collaborate.
Visiting the presentation centers with the clients.
That's key.
The good old days.
Yeah, so for us, I think we've had great ideas from the sales team, from the organization, Shalene, Mark Norris, the B's, Gavin, Jacob, Justin, the entire team, batters, like collaborating and sitting in a room and having great consultants to come up with ideas that are outside the box. So helicopters and a moving sales office in a truck and like drive-in launches. So those are things that are relevant for the time, but also allowed people to be committed. They wanted to commit themselves to this project by learning more. And and obviously when you sit down with us,
of course,
it's a presentation for 45 minutes, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And it's that 45 minutes that's educating people about it. And I think no one takes that time anymore. It's like people are just, it's been too easy.
And that's the thing. I mean, it has been too easy. And then that's what I keep telling my agents as well. Listen, it's too easy. It's not something you should get used to, because now is the time running. You gotta grind your gears. You got to talk to your clients, pick up the phone, go to presentation centers, meet the builders, meet the developers, meet their team, talk to them. That's how it has always been, but it's just the last 4 or 5 years that have been too easy for everybody, and then everybody's just in their pajamas sitting home and then making deals. And a lot of the newer agents, basically, they don't have any exposure of actually making those relationships, making those phone calls, making those efforts to go into the presentation center to sell the project, know the project, talk to the sales team, talk to developers like you, and actually get the deals done. Now the market's changed drastically.
It's going back to when you started.
And it's going back to the good old days of actually going to the presentation center, telling them about what the project is, what the building looks like physically, the scale model, and the classic sales, just go in and then educate them and then read the deal.
Well, you talked about what made CentreCourt, sort of at the forefront during the pandemic and really sort of shooting out of the sky. It's investing time. Right. Well, what we did is we invested time. We invested energy. We were creative about our process and our approach, and we wanted to do something very different from what everyone was doing. But it's no different than today. It's if you're a realtor, look, the last 2 years we've seen probably more realtors get into the market than we've ever seen ever. And everyone's it was quick, it was easy, it was fast, it was exciting, and everyone was successful. But people were just sort of it was just a numbers game, right? And now you've got to invest time into yourself, but you have to invest time into your marketing, into your clients. And it's not going to be a first phone call, bam, worksheet. It's going to take 10 phone calls, right? And most of them aren't even willing to do the first or the second phone call. They just move on to the next. So there's a lot of opportunity to be creative, to go back to, as you mentioned, the good old days, where I think you're a lot more accountable. You need to live, eat, and breathe your job. It's not just, it's a career, right? It's a lifestyle. Whereas I think a lot of people looked at it as a job or a sort of quick scheme.
Agents or people who are coming into the industry, they saw how easy the money was. And they just came in and they're like, oh, I can do a deal. If he can do a deal, let's do a deal.
And there was this ecosystem within pre-construction, right? That sort of, gets grandfathered and you've got this group of people. And I think what you're going to see now is massive disruption.
Exactly.
Today, I think that the slate is clean. Anyone can now be at the forefront. They just have to show up.
Oh, for sure.
And they have to put in the work, and they have
to put in the effort.
What you did, unfortunately, what you did yesterday or last year doesn't mean anything today.
You're as good as your last deal.
Correct.
That's really what it is.
And so there's going to be massive disruption within that community, within how they market. You're going to see a bunch of drop off in terms of realtors saying, I can't make a living this way. I'm going to leave. There's going to be less competition. So it's a bit of a reset in the market, not just from sort of sales volume and sales price, but I think we're seeing a reset in sort of people that are in the industry. And I think you're also going to see a little bit of a reset in how people value land, value their sites, because I think there's a bit of a shock to the system on certain launches and certain outcomes. And so I think that, people have to reevaluate. They got to sort of start from scratch and reframe their expectation and how to get from A to Z. It's not 1 week, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's probably going to be 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 24 months.
Right. One thing I've noticed in all the projects that I've sold for you, CentreCourt focuses a lot on data and analytics.
Yes.
Let's address the elephant in the room. Where do you think the market's going to head? Where do you think it's headed?
Well, I think right now, so if you look back, and I think you're talking about resale in particular, right? So
resale, new construction, real estate in general.
In the resale side, I think you're sort of seeing a normalization in price. Like you're not seeing extreme volatility month over month between, call it July onward. And that's good, right? I think we're not seeing these sort of 5 to 8% drops month over month that are shocking people. When you have normalization, people know where sort of the ground is, or have a better understanding of where the footing is. The only thing that's sort of throwing a curveball is a constant sort of the constant interest rate hikes.
Right.
So you'll notice that when they announce the interest rate hike, there's a bit of a shock. Yeah. There's a reevaluation, and then it'll normalize. And once it normalizes, then people transact. Yes, there's the market slowed down, but like you can't tell me that all the demand is gone. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that are sitting on the sidelines that are prepared to transact. They're just waiting for the bottom or the best deal. Right? You've got a bunch of people that are saying, I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not that I don't have any more money, I don't have equity, I'm not interested. I'm ready when I have a better understanding of where things are.
Right.
So that's where resale is. I think we've hit a very comfortable sort of, I don't want to say bottom, but I think normalization. I think rents have been a great story over the last 3 months where it's back, downtown is back, people are back in the office, it's thriving, like the lifestyle, everything we've been preaching in the downtown lifestyle, especially our sites over the pandemic, are really proving out. And so I think once normalization hits with interest rates, I think people are going to transact. On the pre-construction side, I think we're seeing the market be a lot more educated and reevaluate, what the value proposition is. So, we've been, I wouldn't say out of control, but we've been incredibly hot for so long, and we've been seeing appreciation on top of appreciation in terms of, in terms of how we're valuing land and how we're valuing our real estate and the condos that come online. So, I think the consumer is still transacting. They're just waiting for the best deal. They're still buying. We're seeing great success stories in the downtown core. We're seeing success stories outside in the broader GTA. I think people are more selective and they're being more patient. So, it's sort of similar thesis on what's happening in the resale market is there's a lot of buyers, they're just incredibly patient. And I think they're probably taking a step back saying, are these prices, do they make sense? And is it something that I want to get into? The reality is, prices aren't really going to go down, obviously. We don't have enough supply coming online.
And we've seen that statistically, historically as well.
It just takes so long to play out. Right, and so it's not something that'll happen overnight.
For sure.
And so you're going to get into a situation where the people that own real estate, the people that have that equity, are going to be the ones that are going to be running the market 10 years from now.
For sure.
Because if you were priced out of the market 5 years ago, then you're for sure priced out of the market today.
Oh, for sure.
And then you're basically guaranteed price the market 5 years from now. So to me, pre-construction is, I think people are more selective. You're getting a more eclectic group of people, more end users that are looking for a unique product. You're getting investors that are really scouring for high value. It's going to be slow. It's going to take its time. I think there's a lot of options as well. I think we've opened up so many different sub-markets. I mean, like, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, there are some submarkets that you would have never have thought would be a pre-construction market or master plan or something. So all of that, it's just there's a big sprawl in options, right? So there's just been a ton of consumption, a lot of sales, and I think it's get a bit of a lull. I think we needed the lull. I think you need this reset because I think the market couldn't sustain where we were going for as long as we were going, and I think people needed to get a bit of a wake-up call. But I'm confident that in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, you'll start to see the market thaw once resale sort of normalizes through a normalized interest rate or an interest rate that's going downward. And then people will look at the futures, right? They're going to try and they're going to. And
then they're going to regret I should have bought it at that time because the prices have gone up. Significantly.
I mean, the thing is, when I started, I thought prices were really high, and people were criticizing.
My parents' house cost $350,000 in Mississauga, one of the most prominent locations in the Mississauga. you don't get a cardboard box for $350,000.
That's right.
You don't get anything for $500K.
Well, the key is actually getting into the market.
Yeah.
Right. Like thematically, it's getting into the market, have an asset that's building equity, that's appreciating, so that
Right.
you have option. You can use this asset to now grow your wealth.
Right.
So whether it's by way of resale or pre-construction, because I'm a great story for that. Like I bought my first condo in 2015
Right.
for 10% down.
Yeah.
Right, and that got me into the market. Otherwise, I would have had no chance.
Yeah.
And to build off of that, I mean, the market's obviously changed a lot from
Same
2015.
story here, yeah.
So I think it's just building that wealth, getting into the market, letting it work for you. It's not overnight. I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Is that everyone's thinking that I'm going to buy a condo and next week it's up 100 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have we seen it before? Yes, we
Yes.
have. But should that be your
That's not a
your
consistent
bottom?
thing. Yeah.
No, your bottom should be, I'm going to hold on to this asset for 10 or 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
It's going to build wealth. I'm going to be able to use that as an asset and equity, and then expand on that
Yeah.
and start acquiring more assets over time. It's the rich get rich quick scheme. It's nice to have, but
it's convenient because it's installments. It's not like 20% down upfront.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about pre-con is, and now if we're getting into pre-con sales, I have a lot of points on why I think pre-con makes sense. Where not everyone's ready to do a resale transaction.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you're a realtor and you're saying, hey, I just sold you a house, I've got that consumer, your client doesn't want to buy another house, then you're kind of useless.
Yeah.
Like your function is done. Then you're like, hey, maybe your kids want to lease something when they go to university, but you don't really have any more cards to play. Right. So by having another product, let's look at pre-construction as a product, then you've got pre-construction that's like, hey, you believe in the real estate market, you've got lots of cash, you don't want to buy another home, I get that, but you also don't want to take on a mortgage today. But you also don't want to open a business.
Of course.
The time, effort, the risk. You don't want to put your money maybe in the stock market, a bit of volatility and something you know pretty much nothing about.
Exactly.
Real estate market is what you know.
Yeah.
Let's pay it in installments, and it's going to be done in 4 or 5 years. I mean, I like to joke and say, hey, sign the paperwork, write the checks, forget about it.
Yeah,
you won't have to think about it for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, there you go.
You put the turkey in, you set it and forget it.
And so I think there's a lot of merit to pre-construction and why it's attractive, but also for first-time buyers, like if they, they're struggling to get all of that capital up front and then to buy resale, or maybe just the timing doesn't work. You buy pre-construction to get in, but what I'm seeing more than anything else right now is parents that are buying for the kids.
That's right, because they're the ones w'ho've invested before, bought a house, and then they're the ones sitting on the cash.
Well, we're talking about how hard it is to get into the market. Yeah. So how do you expect your 16 to 21-year-old to compete? Right. When they get out there in the real world and they're working and they're making X dollars, and it's like, think about how much they have to save to get to Y. Yeah. I think the parents are saying, okay, instead of cutting you a check for 100 grand and then it turns into 70 grand, then it turns into 50 grand, and then the kid's got no more money, they're saying, I'm going to buy this piece of real estate for you. It's going to be 4 to 5 years out, and then you're good. Yeah. Like, at least I've given you shelter. That's right. And by then you should have a career and you should be able to carry this cost. And hopefully you've got some appreciation. Yeah. And you're teaching your kids to leverage. You're teaching your kids to get into that market and give them that foundation.
And you mentioned you bought your first place at 2015. In 2015, I was around the same ballpark. Yeah. So had we not started at that time, we would have been way behind, and we would have been renting right by now. Yeah. Because that's what we've. That's what our foundation has been. Unless you're the 1% that is making significant amounts of money. Course. Yeah. For you to be able to sort of make money while not doing anything. Yeah. Yeah. At that rate and that amount is pretty much impossible, right? Like, think about it. You bought a piece of real estate. It appreciated however many hundred thousands. Yeah. What did you do? You didn't do anything. Exactly. You sat there, and then you continued on with your life. You built your life. You started a career. You went to school. You started a family. Whatever that is, this is working for you in the background. And then when it closes, and maybe you're not living it, you're renting it out, and it's still working for you. It's just that because the prices have gone up significantly, the name of the game is to hold it longer. That's right. That's exactly what. So that you're running in tandem with the market. That's right. Right. You're never letting the market sort of get out of your reach. That's right. So at least you've got. At least you've had that. You have that. Probably. Yeah, and it's like, it's not about getting 10. Yeah. Start with 1. Yeah. Exactly.
Start with one and do
My
it with
first one
friends,
was a
do it with
studio.
families.
That's all I could afford at that
Yeah,
time. So
I have a lot of friends. I have friends that they started with a studio and they're like, oh, I wish I bought bigger.
That's baby steps. You're not impressing anybody. Nobody's going to pay a mortgage for you. So just do whatever is easy for you.
Yeah.
As long as you don't lose your sleep at night. That's what I keep telling my clients.
It's funny. I used to simplify and say, look, you put down 20%, so someone else pays the 80%.
Exactly.
Tell me how that's a bad deal.
That's not
so,
right.
and then you reevaluate and say, okay, maybe you're putting down 25% or 30%.
Sure.
Okay, not ideal.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
But someone's still paying 75,
the bigger
70% of this asset.
Right.
Plus it's appreciating.
Yeah.
Right, so you can't leverage stocks and not these, there's a lot of things you don't have that opportunity. So I think real estate by far has changed a lot of lives in the GTA. Right, if you think about it, 20,000 pre-constructions a year for many years.
Yeah.
Think about how many millionaires you've created by just normal people, your clients, normal people that are teachers, that are bakers, that are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That suddenly went from making, a normal living of whatever to suddenly I bought this condo, it went up $300-400 grand.
Yeah.
Changed my life.
Of course.
Right?
It's like a third
so now you've created this
family,
huge network of wealth, which naturally will drive up,
of course,
real estate and cost anyways.
Yeah.
But, you want to be one of those people.
Definitely.
And again, the goal's not 10, start with one and let the options sort of present themselves.
Exactly. You brought up a very valid point. A lot of buyers nowadays are sitting on the sidelines, just making sure where the market's headed, stabilizing this and that. I want to ask you, as a developer from your side, are you being conservative with your land acquisitions, or are you going aggressive? Or
I think whether the market was on fire or not, we've always been prudent in our underwriting. So Badr El Khatib, who's our main acquisitions, our head, a partner of the business, like he's done incredible work getting sites, AAA sites at valuations that make sense in good and bad times. And I think, unfortunately, when the market gets really hot, it's like you don't want to be left holding the bag.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. So I'm sure there are people that are holding the bag, that purchase land, that it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense unless you sell for this price.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the price, you're like, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon. I think that resets the market. I think that's going to recalibrate how much land is going to sell for. I think there's going to, the interest is definitely waned off. But also we're reprioritizing AAA lots, right? I think there's a period in time where everyone was out there scouring 905 for the next VMC, for the next Mississauga City Center Square One, for the next whatever that is. And now I think they're saying, ooh, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much risk.
Yeah.
I think we want to go back to the meat and potatoes of AAA real estate. So the key messages that CentreCourt always follows, right? Like employment, transit, infrastructure, institution, healthcare. Those are the fundamentals that even in not a good market today, downtown core is still thriving in a lot of ways, and I think you can always rent your unit out. There's always demand. So I think those things never go out of style. So we are always prudent in our underwriting, and I think everyone should be, and I think they are. Right? I think there's a bit of a reality check, but it's at the same time you want to sort of uncover the next gem that's more long term. Like we don't. A lot of people aren't looking for zone sites today. They're looking for assemblies or partnerships and structured deals that are maybe 2 or 4 years out.
That's right.
So that we're out of the cycle, because that's what we're in, right? We're in a cycle.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the last down market we're going to see. And to have that expectation, have that realistic approach. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. This isn't commodities. These are this piece of real estate where people are going to be living in, and you can build wealth through. And these things take time. And that's sort of the challenge with pre-construction, is that we move too fast in a short amount of time. When the resale market can only keep up so fast, it can only catch up so fast. And the resale market's done tremendous, over the last 10
year over
years.
year.
It's amazing,
still up,
right? So again, it's not to speak ill of the market, because I think no one's got more confidence in the market than I do. I think it's just being realistic in the outlook of timing, and also sort of like location is, you got to go back to the classics.
Right. So the name of the game, as we discussed, and what we concluded again, is basically hold your property longer. Yeah. Even if you're going to buy new construction, it's just the market conditions have, they're just telling you to hold it longer now.
Yeah. Be selective.
Be selective.
Right. Like right now is the time when I think you have opportunity.
Yes.
Where people are are no longer drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And I think there's opportunity to find better value. I think people are willing to work with you more.
Yeah.
I think this is the market of the people that are real grinders, that are real estate agents, that build networks, that have relationships, that have clients and communicate, and they grind, and they go out there and they search for value.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I'm going to pick on the value part. Where do you think, like, I know you touched upon this briefly, where do you think is a good place to get value from medium to long-term opportunities in new construction?
Well, I think first is if you're able to get in the market, that's key.
Yeah.
Like, don't buy what you can't afford.
Just get your foot in the door.
Get your foot in the
really
door,
yeah.
And trust in the builder, trust in the location, and trust that that you can close.
Right.
That's a key element to all of this, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of value, like, you're never going to go wrong with transit. You're never going to go wrong with employment or retail. Like, being beside a mall is attractive. Obviously, during
a lot
COVID,
of foot traffic.
A lot of foot traffic, but it's lifestyle. Like, I think people are now prioritizing, when I open the door, what do I see? What do I get? How do I feel?
Yeah.
Right? And so, convenience, efficiency, commute times. Like, what are we seeing in downtown core?
Right.
It is worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
So, I want to be close to work. And you believe in those nodes. So for me, as opposed to where do I see value in the marketplace in terms of sub-markets, I think if you're a consumer, it's what can you afford and where you can get in. Then prioritize the things that are important to you, which are important the most, which is infrastructure, transportation, lifestyle. Those are the key elements that I think really made all of our sites really successful, is that anyone can relate to any of those projects and say, yeah, I could live there, my kids would live there. Easy, I can certainly find a renter. Those things are timeless. Like, so.
CentreCourt's very aggressive with their land acquisitions. I know that for a fact. Any upcoming secrets you want to?
We do. We've been very, very busy. We've got projects just outside of subway stations, literally call it 50 meters in the West End.
Yeah.
You can look it up. It's public information. We've got a couple sites in Etobicoke that we're really excited about, like super transit-oriented communities, tons of retail, like great lifestyle, right across from a farm boy, Starbucks, subway station. Like, it doesn't get better than that. And then we've got a big master plan community on the East End that I think we're really excited to get into.
Any inside scoops on that yet?
We can talk about it offline before. I've been sworn to secrecy, but again, this community will be reshaping how people view real estate's master plans. It's going to be one master developer. You've seen our ability to execute. We're in the ground within 3 to 6 months. We're very thoughtful in our communities and our amenities and our programming and our design. So we're going to be able to get our fingers in the actual development and creation of a city. It's a 55-acre site.
Wow. So that's a true master plan. It's not just a word flying around.
It's not. Well, yeah. It's not 4 buildings on a corner, and they're saying it's a master plan.
So definitely more than 4 buildings.
We're truly. Have to integrate, the roads and the parks.
Very
and,
nice.
Communicate with the municipality to create the right space for thousands of homeowners. And so there's going to be a very strong retail component. We're right at a GO station, literally at your doorstep. It's going to be one of the most exciting projects. Like, I think when we're able to tell our story, which at the front of this I think is missing in the business, I think people will be like, how did I not see this? And how do I get involved?
Right.
Because I think it's valuation of land.
Right.
It's giving value to the market, saying, wow, that's really attractive.
And I'm sure you've obviously, like you always do with your projects, data and analytics, you're very
100%.
rooted on that.
Oh, yeah. And I think, and again, like for us, it's, once we've told you our story, it'll make sense. And I think that's what people are looking for. They're looking for logic.
Yeah,
and right now, there's just a little bit, it's missing in the market today, and that's fine. Like, don't try and hide from the truth.
Yeah.
Right? There's no point. People are very smart. Your consumers, your purchasers, your clients are catching on. They've bought 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. They've seen the market move. They've been through ups and downs.
Right.
So, treat them with respect and let them know exactly what's going on.
That's right.
just as we would, right? So, I think there's a lot of opportunity for us. We're really busy. We've got downtown sites, Church of Queen.
Yes.
We're looking at Midtown. Like, there's a lot of moving parts in North York. We're huge fans of North York. We've got some gems that we're uncovering there. So, are we aggressive? Very much so. We've been, East Core. We've got some sites locked up in that node just off of sort of quote unquote, it used to be Ryerson University, now it's Toronto Metropolitan. So again, like Yonge and Dundas, Church and Dundas, that node is our bread and butter. Like, I don't think anyone has more buildings than us in that pocket. But and going back to that is like, what did you think was going to happen, right? Like, Yonge Street's the center, the Bay's busy. That's done. University is busy. That's done. You have no choice but to go to Church and Jarvis and Sherbourne. That's right. You might not like it.
It's a spillover effect. You have to.
It's like whether you like it or not doesn't matter. It's just it's going to happen. So you're either going to be a part of it or you're not going to be a part of it, and benefit from that reality, right? So if Bay's really unique to you and you really like it, then you should like Church and Jarvis as well.
And I mean, you guys were one of the first ones at Dundas and Jarvis with 1180.
We did grid. Dundas, grid before my time.
And that speaks volumes, because now all the action is there, but whoever bought there, my clients, they're just racking up value and then rent.
Oh, they're feeling great.
Crazy. Yeah,
they're feeling great. Like tenants out, tenants in, tenants out, tenants in.
Exactly.
It's wonderful.
6 months up front. Whatever.
I mean, that's been the market for a while. I mean, we actually have a site on Jarvis coming up, and Prime, right? We sold Prime in the pandemic.
Yes.
And again, people.
And you did really well.
We did amazing. Yeah. It's actually shot out of the ground. Like, it's coming along really nicely. The construction team is doing an amazing job getting. Mobilizing. No one moves faster than the CentreCourt construction group. What they do is beyond words. They do a great job.
Jason, I know you're a huge music fan. I brought that up before as well. One of the reasons why we chose Cosmos Records on Queen Street is because for the love of music, for you and me. We have a little surprise for you back in the studio.
Okay.
And I want to go show you what it is.
Okay.
So again, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, man.
And it's always very good meeting you, having a chit chat, and then talking about things on and off, like real estate related or not. But always great to see you. Thank you very much for your time.
And let's go
to the studio and check out what I have for you.
All right, let's go. All right, what are we in for here?
You gotta wait for it.
I only know this room as the shooting a video room, so if I'm shooting another video, then I'm not very surprised, guys.
That's
look at that. Holy cow! Are you serious?
I was told you were in the band, you played guitar and drums, and I said, why don't you play some drums for the audience, I guess.
Who set this up? This is crazy. An electronic kit too. Are you? Woo! Rolling kits. These are well known for being like the best electronic kits you can buy. Okay.
So we're not gonna let you go that easy, right? So
well, good thing you didn't give me some weird thing, but but wow. I mean, it's been a while since I've really Ooh, and it's on. All right. So, are we doing something?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I get your hand to ride?